Hello. That's better. Well, it's been only 2 months since we've been here. So Jason, Paul, and I were actually thinking of renting an apartment in Warsaw, maybe, so that in 2 months when we come back, we already have a home to come to. But before I begin, I just wanted to show you guys our Twitter handles so that you guys can interact with us if you want during the show, after the show, in the coming weeks, whenever you want. This is where you can find us. And before we begin, I also want to understand a little bit about you. How many of you are already on Creative Cloud? How many of you are CS6? CS5? CS4? CS3? Come on, don't be shy. There's one in the back up there. All right. And how many of you were at the event 2 months ago? Okay, very interesting. So welcome back to you. There's a little thing that I'm doing during this tour. You know, we've traveled already to Johannesburg in South Africa. We went to Milano in Italy. We went to Istanbul in Turkey. And today we're in Warsaw. So what I'm doing is I'm taking something from each of those cities and bringing it to the next. So who traveled the furthest? Who traveled most kilometers to come here today, do you think? Raise your hand and make your offer. Yes, how many kilometers? 500. Anybody more than 5? Yes? 1,000. Oh, that must be a winner. Anybody else? No? Anybody better than 1,000? All right, Paul, since you run quickly, can you run over there and give a T-shirt that comes directly from Istanbul, okay? And we're going to be taking something from Warsaw and bring it to Moscow when we go there tomorrow. All right, so we're on this Create Now World Tour Creative Days to talk to you again about our Creative Cloud, because in the 2 months that have just passed, many things have changed. Let me just introduce you a little bit to the concept that we believe is actually shaping this new way that we provide the software, that we develop the software, and that you are actually using the software. There's so many different things that are changing in the world so rapidly. You know, there are things that you need to do to get your work done. And some of these things include that the assets, the elements that you use in your designs are hard to track, and we want to help you with that. The apps and the services that you are using are not up to the expectations that you have from the software. A good example is an application like Dreamweaver that has to be constantly updated to actually provide you with the tools that you need to create for the new web. These things are moving so rapidly. There's also needs that designers have to collaborate together, to share files, to show the files to their customers and to their co-workers. And the creation happens everywhere. We need to find ways to allow you people to become creative wherever you are, on your mobile devices, on your tablet devices, on your desktop computers. So this is why, as the world changes, we believe so must the apps and the services that you use every day, all right? And this is why we are moving all of our efforts as a company to Creative Cloud, to enable us to provide you the tools that you need when you need them, when they are ready. So just a quick recap of what happened in the last year, because it's only a year since we've launched CS6 and Creative Cloud. And with Creative Cloud, we made a promise. We said that our Creative Cloud subscribers will receive constant innovation as the months pass by. Actually, there hasn't been a single week in Creative Cloud that didn't offer new updates and changes to the programs to let you work better. So in May, we launched it, and then in the summer, we already had some other things, and then in December, we had a big event, the Create Now event, which was the inspiration behind the tour that we did 2 months ago. And then a few weeks ago at Adobe Max, we presented the new Creative Cloud and 15 entirely new apps. Okay, so we're moving from CS6 to Creative Cloud. And these are entirely new applications. Some of them you will be seeing today during this presentation. So what we also introduced there is a new syncing system to sync the files with the Creative Cloud, a new approach to downloading and updating these apps. And we will be looking at that later on with Paul. So, what is Creative Cloud? Creative Cloud is, of course, all of the apps that we have at Adobe, okay? All of the creative apps. And that includes Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, Premiere, After Effects, the Edge tools and services, the Dreamweaver, all of the applications. But Creative Cloud is not only that, and this is really important to understand. Creative Cloud is also a way to let you work better. So for example, what we've introduced in Creative Cloud is the ability to sync your applications from one machine to the other. As you know, with a Creative Cloud membership, you can install the software on 2 machines. Typically, it's your office machine and your home machine, for example, all right? Or 2 office machines. Maybe you're changing computers during the day. Well, what happens if you change a shortcut in Photoshop on one machine? Well, you have to remember to do that again on the other machine as well. Well, with Creative Cloud, we can now sync the settings from one machine to the other. And I will be showing you that in Photoshop, for example. So you can sync assets, settings, colors, and even fonts between machines now, so that you can move from one machine to another very, very easily. The other important part of Creative Cloud, of course, is collaboration. Collaboration means putting up your file on a server, the Creative Cloud, and being able to share that file with your collaborators, with your customers, with anybody who needs to see that file. All right? So this is, and you can also share folders. You can make little work groups. It's a pretty cool way of collaborating online. Another part of Creative Cloud is the community, because as creative people, what we need is some interaction with other creative people out there. Sometimes creative people, I used to be a designer for 20 years before I became an Adobe evangelist, and I know that sometimes you feel lonely with your creativity, and you need some kind of feedback, and the community does just that. So what you can do now with Creative Cloud is upload your files to Behance, for example, and ask other creatives about their ideas, their comments on your work. With that community, the Behance community, how many of you are on Behance? Okay, very nice. So being part of that community also means that you can publish your work as a portfolio. And with Creative Cloud, our members get a free pro site. Basically, a pro site is your own website where you can showcase your creative work. And that, for example, is a $99 value that you get for free with your Creative Cloud membership. Of course, that work needs to be published. The work that you do needs to be published, be it video, be it print, be it interactive documents, be it websites. We have all the tools that you need in Creative Cloud to enable you to actually publish your work, your ideas, your creativity to many different devices, media, and wherever you need to have those published. And then what we also introduce is a whole new way of getting into the Creative Cloud. And Paul will show us that in a second. Basically, it's a new window on your desktop that allows you to check your updates, download your applications, and go on Behance, share folders, and things like that. So this whole ecosystem makes the Creative Cloud, all right? So yes, we have the apps, we have the syncing of assets, we have the collaboration, we have the community, the ability to showcase your work, and of course, to publish your work. So this whole thing is the Creative Cloud. It's not just the apps. Of course, we have various solutions. We have solutions for individuals. If you're a one designer, this could be the solution for you. And you get 20 gigabyte of storage to put your files. You get hosting for 5 websites using Adobe Muse, for example. You get the Behance Pro site and many other things. Then there's, of course, a solution for teams, which allows a team member, a team leader, to actually assign the various licenses to their team members and define who gets to use what and when. Basically creating virtual work groups. If you're working in a big enterprise, well, we have a solution for that as well, because then we go into federated IDs. We need to maybe have a special customer care for a bigger organization. And then we have also a system for allowing bigger enterprises to deploy the software much quicker. And of course, we have also a solution for students to learn the software and for teachers to actually teach the software to their students. So as you can see, we have many different offerings that will enable you to get into the Creative Cloud. So there's a few myths that I want to talk about, because people are still asking me about these, and I want to make sure that all of these myths get debunked today. So many people tell me that, that the apps like Photoshop run in the cloud, and many people tell me that will not work because my Photoshop file is 1 gigabyte and I cannot do that on the internet, all right? So this is not true. The applications work on your computer, okay? They work on your PC, on your Mac, on whatever machine you have installed them on. They work on the computer. You don't need to be online to actually use these applications. And that comes to the second point. You don't need to constantly be online, okay? All we ask you to do is be online at least once a month for a very short period of time, where we can check that your subscription is still active so that, you know, you can continue working with the software. You can share files with your customers and your colleagues, even if they are not Creative Cloud members, all right? It's simply giving them a link, and they can go see your InDesign files, your Illustrator files, your Photoshop files, and interact with them online without needing to be a Creative Cloud subscriber. Another myth is that you will lose everything, all of your files, all of the hard work you've done once you leave Creative Cloud. This is also not true, because with our syncing method, yes, some files are going to the cloud, but they are syncing on your desktop. Basically meaning that they live on your desktop already. So if you stop the subscription, all your files are yours, and they are on your desktop. Updates are installed automatically. This is also not true. Basically, yes, we provide updates. We provide innovation quite rapidly and frequently. That is true. But it is up to every single customer to actually decide whether they want to update their software right then, right now, or if they want to wait for a little period of time and wait for the good time to actually update the software. So you can do that whenever you want. I can't use the software because I'm in an enterprise that has a firewall, and that doesn't go out to the internet. We have solutions for that. We have solutions so that enterprises can actually use the software behind the firewall. There is no obligation to actually sync your files with the cloud and use the services that we provide. So be aware that you can use the software also behind a firewall. And the last one, and this is a very important one, people tell me, I have no choice now. I have to go to Creative Cloud. Well, that is also not true, because we have many different solutions that we can provide you with. First of all, if you don't like the idea of Creative Cloud at all, we still have CS6. That is a box that you can buy and that you can get, okay? So, no, it's not really a box, but it's a perpetual license, okay? So you can actually own the software if you want. We will not be updating the software with new features, but we will guarantee in time that it works on the new operating systems, for example. And also, if you don't need all of the applications of Creative Cloud, and you only use Photoshop, for example, we have a solution for that as well. For a very small price, you can get Photoshop Creative Cloud, just Photoshop Creative Cloud, and some of the services that come with that, okay? You don't need to take the whole package. Although that I think that as a designer, as a creative professional, it is actually great to have access to everything. Even if I only use InDesign, Photoshop, and Illustrator, okay, and that's what I use in my workflow daily, it is good to know that I have access to edge tools, that I have access to video tools, that I have access to everything I need to create whenever I want to. So why the Creative Cloud? First of all, a way to work smarter with all of the applications, okay? You're always up to date. There are no more versions. There's always new innovation coming in, okay? And this is the great thing about Creative Cloud, that we can work on innovation. We don't have that 18-month hard stop that we had in the past, because our development teams can now work on new features and provide them as they get available. You can sync all of your settings, the styles, the fonts, the colors, and assets all across the various devices. And in our Creative Cloud, you also get access to a whole bunch of learning services, for example, videos. And we also added a new part to that learning experience, which is called Creative Voices. Basically, it is world-famous designers that talk about their experiences, that talk about their workflows, that talk about creativity in general. And of course, you can manage the collaboration with your clients and colleagues, and this is exactly what Paul will show us now. All right? So let's move over to Paul and see how this Creative Cloud desktop application actually works. Thank you.
Thank you, Rufus. It's okay. You can clap. This is awesome. It's fun coming back here, even though it's only been a couple months, but that's a Creative Cloud for you. It's like we have all of these new features and tools to show you. All right. I do want to point out that you can go to creativecloud.com, and you can see right down here, you can get started for free. All right? So you can get trial apps, as well as limited storage as well. So I want to encourage you to do that. Now, what that will get you is it will get you something similar to this. And I wanted to show you some things that are going to be coming out June 17th. In fact, this experience. I'm in the download center, okay? So you can see a slew of apps that you could download. It's almost frightening, right? Graphic design. Oh, let's sort. And I can pick up the apps that I might be interested in this way, all right? So what I can do is install something like Illustrator if I want to, and let me show you the experience that you're going to get on June 17th. Again, new stuff that's coming out. Because when it installs, it will also install this Creative Cloud desktop app, all right? See it over there? It will install, say, Illustrator, and if I want to at that point, I can also install Edge Code. Whatever else I want, it installs in the background for me. And will actually tell me if there's an update to Photoshop. It will actually say that there's an update to Photoshop. All right, and I can choose whether I want to update it or not. All right, so that's pretty cool. That updates. Let me jump back out to the browser, because also what we have in here is we have our files section. All right, and you can do this today as well. But from the browser, what I can do is I could sync files to Creative Cloud. Just click, drag it in, and it will sync that file. Happens just to be a JPEG, and you'll see it come in right there. Synced to the cloud. I can go to my work machine, just go into a browser and have access to that particular file. What about a PSD file? Well, you guessed it, I could sync that to Creative Cloud as well. Could be an InDesign file, and I'll actually be able to see the pages of my InDesign file, an Illustrator file, all sorts of files that are visual files. And this is what I want. I want that PSD. I want to be able to see information on it. I want to be able to see, I don't know, that I didn't name layers in here, for instance, right? Don't tell me you don't have a file on your computer that is like this, right? It's like layer 23, copy, right? You have this, all right? Nonetheless, you have control over those layers, so I can turn on, say, that sidebar, and you can get a rendition of that. It opens up that right there. All right. This is great. I can see this is my current version. I can add comments. Here's the new design. You know, what do you think, Rufus? I'll go ahead and add that comment. I could send it to him in the browser. He would get an email. He doesn't need to be Creative Cloud member to see this file. But let's go beyond this, because we've been actually able to do this for a year, all right? Because when you install this desktop app, you have this files area, and it will put a folder on your desktop, all right? And what I can do from here is I can grab that PSD, and let's just bring it into that folder. And look what happens. It starts to sync it up. All right? So I could work in this folder, just like I always have, working in that folder. If I go to my browser, I'll see that file again load up in here in a second. All right? So again, Creative Cloud Desktop app allows me to have this desktop folder. I can work in here, no need to drag it into the browser. I can make any changes that I want, and it automatically syncs. All right? There's more I can do, guys. Check this out. Oh, what about a folder? Let's take this folder in particular. Oh, look, add collaborators. This is really cool. I can add collaborators, adding Rufus, adding Jason as a collaborator. They have access to that folder, and they can make changes and add to that folder anything they want. But really, it's a new way of working. Because what did I not do? I didn't zip up anything, right? I didn't package anything. I didn't open up my email at all. None of that stuff. It's all in this one folder, ready to go. Again, add collaborators. They have access to this particular folder. All right, and you start to see, in fact, if I can just open up one of these files, for instance. Check this out. Let's just take a look at a file that I've changed a lot. This one, for instance. You could see that I've changed it. It says current version, all right? And that's what it will say. It will give you the ability to see different versions of a particular file, okay? So if Rufus happened to change this InDesign file, by the way, he changes it, it will say that it's changed by Rufus, okay? That's versioning. I'm excited. I want to jump over this table and say, hey, guys, this is really cool that you're able to do this. He didn't send me anything. He updated that folder. Let's say, for instance, not that I would, Rufus is an awesome designer. He changes that file. I don't like that change. Oh, I just click there, and I can roll back to that previous version. Did I just blow your mind? I know I actually didn't do it. I can show you a file that I've potentially changed, but I can actually have that sort of control over these particular files. So let's jump in here. Again, current version, revised, okay? I don't know what I revised, but if I want to roll that back, I can click there, and let's just roll it back to that previous version. It'll ask me to restore it, clicking there, and it will roll back to that version that I modified, say, 30 minutes ago, all right? Does that make sense? Is that cool? Am I blowing your mind? I'm blowing my mind. And I know this. I've been talking about this for a while. Let me go beyond that, okay? New ways of working on my desktop, not worrying about managing files and having, your PSD that's my design, final design, I mean it, .psd, right? You just have versioning on that one file. You can roll it back if you want to roll it back, and that's all saved for you. Very cool what you can do there, all from your desktop. Let's go on. I can see sort of my current status, shows that I've installed Edge code, shows that somebody has joined a folder, shows, oh, fonts. What is this all about? Well, 12 fonts were added. Let's take a look over there in the fonts tab. What do we have here? Typekit. So Rufus mentioned this, the ability to use Typekit fonts. You saw 2 of them that I've already added, but let's jump out there. Okay, web designers are like, yes, I know Typekit. I can integrate them into my site. Maybe you're a graphic designer not familiar with Typekit. Doesn't matter. As a Creative Cloud member, you have access to over 600 fonts now, again, as part of your membership. But check this out. Oh, web use doesn't excite me. This part, desktop use. So you're saying I can take, I don't know, this Adele font, and I can use this font on my desktop? That's exactly what I'm saying. Clicking there, it's actually going to sync to Creative Cloud and make it available, all right? And that's exactly what I've done with some of these other fonts. I've done it with Museo Slab, all right? And I've just added Adele as well. And it will actually add it to this list. But you can see this is Museo Slab that I've added earlier. Says that it's synced. What do you think, guys? Do you think it's in Photoshop? Let's take a look in there. In fact, for this text right here, again, keeping it simple, going right up here. Let's zoom in. Museo Slab is right there. Is that cool? Thank you. Yeah, clap. I don't know. Oh, that's cool. Right? That was awesome, being able to have access to all of those fonts installed, not only in Photoshop, Illustrator. Do you think it's in PowerPoint? Yeah, it's in PowerPoint. It works just like other desktop fonts, all right, if you happen to use PowerPoint. I'm not saying might not be your design tool of choice, no offense to, lastly, we have Behance. Oh, there we go. Oh, thank you. Yeah, there's my Adele font. You can see it installed it, and that would be available in Photoshop. Oh, yes, I love that. Get excited. Behance, check this out. Okay, so the issue is, I like getting inspired and just like checking out cool stuff that's out there, and you probably have your resource for that. But we have Behance integrated as well into Creative Cloud, all right? Who is on Behance, actually, just by a show of hands? See if some people are. Okay, so you guys know what this is all about. This is great, being able to have this network of designers. Again, a huge number, but you can come in here and get inspired by their work. And it's really impressive what you'll see out there. And just like Emra added this abstract piece, I can add my own piece and get feedback on it, all right? So right over here, you can see my activity. You can see I have a couple comments on a couple works in progress, okay? So I can get feedback, and it's good feedback, guys. It's not like posting a YouTube video where it's like, if you ever want to feel bad about yourself, just post a video to YouTube and read the comments, right? It's not like that here. It's really intelligent. It's like, yeah, I will consider that as feedback. And that's exactly what you're going to be able to do from the Behance menu right here. You'll be able to add work directly from your desktop. You saw it a second ago if I wanted to post it to Behance this way. Check that out. Post it. Bam. It's in my Behance profile. Okay. Jumping over there to my profile. And you'll start to fill out your profile with your information, because I know I know employers are looking there, my peers are looking there, has a huge audience, all right, and I'm able to get that feedback. But now that I've spent a lot of time on my profile in Behance, I could send them a link to my profile, but wouldn't it be better if I had just a website that had all of that information in it, something more custom? Well, sure enough, there is something called ProSite, okay? Take my profile, take all of that content, and let's turn it into a website. And that's exactly what ProSite does. See that? Synced with ProSite. Awesome. What is ProSite? Well, it looks like this. All of the content, all that profile information, including my portfolio, is right over here. Oh, you think I could customize it? Sure. Oh, you think I could change the font? I don't know. Let's take a look. Oh, look. Look, guys. This still blows my... Do you guys know you guys could do this, by the way? Look, there's that Adele font available. Being able to customize my layout based on fonts that I've added from Typekit, okay? Confirming that Adele font, it adds it right here. I don't know, any of this stuff that I want to, I can change. I can jump in here, change this text, you know. Just like that. Oh, I don't like the line height. Changing that line height is what I'm dealing with. Again, making it easy, changing the color, all right? So you can see how you can start to really design this out, you know, adding, you know, an image even if I wanted to. Let's jump in there. Let's add an image to the background. I have control when it comes to my website, okay? You can see I've just added that nice background, and I can always change that as well, and I just added it to that background area, okay? I can add more to it. I can add my own CSS. I can add additional pages. In my case, I've actually added my blog site. So again, I've added a page, and I've chosen blog. So I've actually added an RSS feed. So if you want to do that, you can. Going into settings, there's more capabilities. Changing the domain. Okay, so you don't have to stick with paultrani.prosite.com. It can look custom. Lastly, you just hit publish, and you're able to see your website. And again, does that look like it's like Behance? No, it's your own site. That's the easiest way to create a website, again, as part of your Creative Cloud membership using ProSite. Pretty cool? All right, guys, I have more to show, but it's going to be web-based stuff. Again, I've shared some files with Rufus, and I want him to take it away, if you could, with some design stuff.
All right, so let's start talking about the features that are coming in to our new Creative Cloud applications. And they will be launching on June 17. So we're getting very, very close. So we've seen, you know, how the whole ecosystem works, how you can access the applications and update them. So let's have a look at the... What? No, this is not my screen.
Oh,
can I have my screen, please? Let's go to...
Switch to number 1.
1, OK, perfect. So I'm in Photoshop CC now, and the first thing I want to show you is now that in the preferences, I can actually choose to sync my settings. And just so you know, I'm going to zoom into here. These are the things that you can actually sync out of Photoshop. And the same thing you can do with Illustrator, and we are working on making that available in InDesign as well. All right? So basically, all it takes is to decide what it is that you want to sync, and then you have a little button down here. I'm going to cancel out of this. A new little button that tells you last sync, when that happened, and you can sync the settings now. So all of your applications are synced between machines. All right, so let's go into a little bit of features here, and let's start with this image. Oh, well, maybe, do you have a problem with the monitor? With the, no, it all looks blurry
to me.
Right? So the first thing that I want to show you is this new filter that we've added. In Filter, Sharpen, we have a new filter called Shake Reduction. All right, so when if you take a picture that, you know, with a low ISO or in a dark environment, you can use that new filter and check out what happens. Photoshop analyzes the images and takes the shake away. Should I redo that? Preview, that was like it was before, and this is how Photoshop actually puts it together. Thank you. And basically, it analyzes the shake that the camera took and shifts pixels around to actually reposition them in their right position. So let's say OK to this and apply the filter. All right, so Command-Z and do again. All right, so very good results for shake reduction. Another thing that we've been working on a lot is new algorithms for sharpening images and also upsampling images. So let me just show you a quick example here. If I go here to Filter, again under Sharpen, under Smart Sharpen, I can now access this new window here that has a lot more different choices and presets that you can use. And you can really define the amount, the radius, the noise reduction in the sharpening. And you can see that as I move the image, this is the original, and when I let go, you see how the sharpening is actually applied to that image. And you have more control over how the images get sharpened. Brand new algorithms here. So let's cancel out of this and move to another favorite of mine, and that is the ability to actually apply a filter as a camera raw filter. And to do that, what I will do, I will take this background layer here, and under Filter, I will convert it for Smart Filters. And say OK to that. And now it is a smart object, meaning that I have a container with the original image in it. And under Filter, I now have the Camera Raw Filter. And basically, what this allows me to do is to access all of the Camera Raw features in Photoshop to apply them on my PSDs, on my JPEGs, on all your image files, okay? Without necessarily having to go through Camera Raw. So let me just do one thing here. For example, I'm going to change the white balance of the image because the colors here are not very good. So I'm going to say Automatic, and boom, the colors are already corrected here, all right? And maybe what I want to do also is make the sky a little bit more dramatic. So I'm going to put a filter here, and just with this graduated filter, I'm going to change the exposure to maybe something darker, something like that. And when I say OK, this is now being applied to my image. So this is the before, and this is the after. Doing that through a filter. And why did I do that with a smart object? Simply because a smart object can be turned on and off. So I can make many variations on that smart object and then decide which one is better, or let my client decide which one is better. And then once I'm done here in Photoshop, let me just go here to my flowers again. If I'm happy with this picture, I can now go to File and say Share on Behance. And directly from the application, I can load the image, I can optimize the image, and once I'm done preparing the image, it's preparing like a thumbnail here, a preview. I can give a title, put the tags. I can start a conversation with comments and continue on Behance. Select a cover image and share the image, all right? Directly from the application without having to do anything else. Let's move on to Adobe Illustrator, because here we have quite a few features as well, other than the fact that we can also sync the settings from Illustrator to the other machines that have my Adobe ID. But there's a feature that I wanted to show you first here, a thing working with colors, because colors is something that we get inspiration from everywhere we go. So I want to show you a new application that will come to your mobile devices called Cooler. How many of you know Cooler? Okay, so now there will be, that's actually very great. That's very many people. Let me just go here to my reflector, and I'm going to just share the screen, and like so, and turn the mirroring on. Say done, all right, and escape out of that. And on my home screen here, I have the new Cooler application. And basically what that does, it allows me to go around and get colors from the places I am, okay? So maybe if I like the colors of this carpet very, very much, I can go here, I can tap on the image and freeze the image, and then I can simply say, okay, I want this color here, I want this one, maybe here something, okay, and create a whole a color swatch collection that I can then use in Illustrator. But there's also other ways, of course, that I can create those color swatches. If I go here, I have them all here in a nice little view. If I switch my phone, I have a better view of the different colors. And then, if I go here into my color wheel section, I can decide whether I want to create analogous colors or monochromatic colors, or maybe I want to create, let me go, a triad of colors from 3 different parts of the color spectrum. So very easily I can go in here and change those colors and define exactly which ones it is that I want to create my cooler swatches with. And then when I say OK, this will become a theme in Cooler. It will automatically, let me just give this one a name, like Warsaw, OK, and say OK. This will now be synced to Cooler, okay, and of course also to Adobe Illustrator. And if I now move back to Adobe Illustrator, let me just turn this one off again, I will be seeing my Cooler swatches in this brand new panel here, okay. And if I open that, oh, it's not syncing. Let me see if it's not syncing right now. But anyway, from the new Cooler panel, I can then define elements. I can select one and apply the color directly from the Cooler panel without having to import them into my swatches panel like we used to do in the past. All right, some features in Illustrator. Let me go here and let's look at this map very quickly, because this map here actually shows a little bit of the things that we can do with this new Creative Cloud version of Illustrator. One of these things is this little path here. You see, we used the vine to actually create the path on the map. So how did I create that? Very simply, I went to Photoshop, I took an image of a vine like that, and I created a brush with it. To create a brush with pixel images, all right, this is a pixel image with a transparent background that I created in Photoshop. I'm simply going to take it, go over to my brushes, and let it go in here. And then I will say, create a pattern brush with that. And say, OK. And now I have my brush already applied, but what is really interesting, I can really decide how the corners are generated. So I can say this one is auto-centered, and maybe this one here is auto-between. OK? Very good. I'm going to say OK to that. And my brush is now created. And by selecting any type of path, I can now apply that brush, and here we go. All right? So taking that image from Photoshop into Illustrator and creating images with pixel or raster-based images in Illustrator. Another great tool is this one, because it's called the Touch Type tool. This is actually a thing that we've started working on at Adobe, is to start enabling our users also to use touch devices. For example, the Wacom touch devices that we see outside of here, or the Microsoft Surface computers. And so we've started implementing some of the tools for touch devices. But the same tools, of course, you can use with your mouse or with your Wacom tablet in any way you want. Let me show you how it works. First of all, I wanted to show you that this is text. Okay, I can select that. I can change the text itself, and I can, of course, format it. Now, the new Touch Type tool is here. Under my Type Tools, I'm going to take the Touch Type tool, and basically what this allows me to do is to select individual letters and start turning them around, making them bigger, moving them around. Maybe this one as well. Let me move it this way and make it slightly bigger, and then move this one back, something like that. So freehand, I can really place the letters exactly where I want. And this is, of course, touch-enabled. On a touch device, I could do that with my fingers. I did it just with my Wacom tablet, but you could do that with your mouse as well. The benefit of this, of course, is that if I take my Type tool again, this is still text, okay? So I can make all of the changes to my design and actually move the shapes around. Do you like that? Yes? So there's a lot of innovation in Illustrator as well. Let's move on to something else. Let me show you a little bit of InDesign. So Paul showed you now this new ability to also sync fonts from Typekit, open type fonts directly to your computer. One thing that I may want to add is that we did some math here, and we saw that if you had to purchase the fonts that we're making available through Creative Cloud separately, like as single packages, you would be spending something like $25,000, okay? So this is something very special that Creative Cloud offers to its members, the ability to take all of those fonts, use them on the desktop, and create designs with them in InDesign, for example, or in Photoshop, Illustrator, or like Paul said, in PowerPoint. So let me show you a few features here in InDesign. One that I find very interesting is that with the text tool now, and let me zoom into this area, I can really start looking for fonts easily. So for example, if I'm looking for an italic font, all I need to do is start typing italic, okay? And InDesign will show me all of the italic fonts that I have in my system. Or if I want the black version of a font, like a very bold version, let's say black, okay? InDesign shows me all of my black type. And then maybe if I have some other, like I want Cooper black, then it shows me only Cooper black. So a very quick way to find the font you're looking for in your larger collection. Another thing that we can do in InDesign now is put little stars next to the fonts. So for example, if there's a font that I use all the time, I hope it's not this one. Yes. Maybe I can go here and say, let me say, like I want to use Caslon Big. I put a little star to it, and then in InDesign I can say show favorite fonts only, and therefore have only the fonts that I'm using currently or the fonts that I like at my fingertips. So very, very quickly I can filter through them and use them. Another feature, thank you. You like it's productivity, right? It's to make you guys work better and faster. One thing that we've also done, let me just go here and create a little something here, like a text box. And what I want to do is simply, let's make a text box like this. What I can do now under Object is generate a QR code in InDesign. So basically, there's several ways, or several different types of QR codes. I can make a plain text QR code. I can make a text message to a specific phone number. I can email something, email address, subject, message. I can even put in a whole business card in that QR code, so that when people scan the QR code, they have all of the information they need. But let's do one with a web hyperlink, and I'm going to say http adobe.com, and I can choose the color for my QR code as well. So I say I want this to be paper color, and say OK to this, and boom, InDesign now created that QR code for me. And I can take that QR code, of course, it's vector-based, so I can copy it and use it maybe in Illustrator to put in an Illustrator work as well, or directly in Photoshop. And you like that? Thank you. So basically, if I select it, I can also make it bigger if I need to. All right. Now it's the wrong box, of course. Let me just select this one and make this one bigger here. All right. And now it looks a bit dirty like this, but this is only a matter of changing the view from display performance to high quality display. And now this is a fully usable QR code. The last thing I wanted to show you in the design field is Adobe Muse. How many of you use Adobe Muse? That's very few. Basically, Adobe Muse is an application that we've developed for designers, print designers just like me, to create websites very rapidly. And the idea behind it was to create an application where designers didn't necessarily have to go into the code. Basically, it's a drag and drop and formatting application, a little bit like InDesign, to create web pages. And the benefit of that is that you can actually leverage your knowledge of InDesign and general layout to actually create beautiful web pages. So let me just show you this page here, for example, just to get a rough idea of how this Adobe Muse actually works. You see we have all of the tools that we expect from a design perspective, for example, to format text, new in Muse Creative Cloud is the ability to create layers, which is very interesting because we can now put things on top of each other, deciding exactly where they go. In the past, things that were on the master page, for example, would always be at the bottom. Now, by deciding on which layers these things go, it makes everything much easier. But one thing which is really crazy, and I think Muse users will love, is the ability to select objects and under effects to actually give it a scroll motion. The scroll motion is the parallax effect. So basically, I can decide that some elements on the page scroll faster than others, okay? Let me just show you an example of that. And let me go here to Safari. This is the same page, and if I now go here and start scrolling the page, you see some elements scroll over, and then suddenly the leaves come and they scroll faster, okay? So there is a way now in Adobe Muse to add this parallax effect, making your websites much more dynamic. And another thing that is very useful in Adobe Muse is that once you've previewed and published your website, and here again I want to be very clear about how you can publish your websites. There's actually 3 different ways. You can publish your website with our own Business Catalyst platform, and remember that as a Creative Cloud member, you get 5 websites for free included in your Creative Cloud membership. You can FTP the Muse site to whatever service you want to use, or you can even export the HTML in a little folder and put that folder wherever you need to. However, if you publish with Business Catalyst, you can then go and manage the website directly from here. And basically, what this allows you to do, it lets you access the administration panel on Business Catalyst, and it shows you how many visitors you had, the system usage, you can create reports. But new in Muse Creative Cloud is this console here, which actually lets people edit the website. So basically, as a designer, what you can do now is create the website in Adobe Muse, load it up on Business Catalyst, and enable this feature for your customer so that the customer can come to that editing website and change the text, change the images. So basically, what I would do is maybe scroll down here and let me go maybe to that text here, log, okay. I'm going to change that. I'm going to say run. That's what my customer can do. I can say update, and now I have my new text, okay? And then the customer can say publish. And at that point, the website will be published. And then as a designer, maybe I reopen the website, and Muse will tell me, the customer has made changes. Do you want to go through these? And I say yes. And then I say, okay, the customer changed the text. I agree. The customer changed that image. I don't agree. Okay, don't do that. So revert back to what I designed. So we have this whole new way of collaborating between the Muse user, the customer, and this whole thing that we have on Business Catalyst. Is that pretty cool? You like that? This ability to let the customer do the work, all right? Because otherwise it's, Rufus, yes, can you change that to run, please? No, you can do it yourself. You know, this is how we can work now. And with that, we're now moving to Jason to learn about the latest video tools. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to take you through some of the new video features. And much like many of the applications in Creative Cloud, one of the things that we really stressed in Premiere Pro in the CS6 timeframe was listening to video editors to make it the best editor. So how many of you are video editors, effects, compositing? Okay, quite a few, good. So what I'm going to show you here first in Premiere Pro are some of the things that we've done to make the experience of editing better, faster, and more efficient. Also taking some tips and things that you told us you wanted to see that were favorites in maybe some of the other non-linear editing applications. So the first thing I'm going to show you here deals with the process of relinking and locating media. And in the past, this was a very complicated, not friendly process in Premiere. And anyone who has seen this media offline dialog knows that if you tried to relink media in the past, was it fun? No. It was terrible. And it was terrible because you were basically doing it in a file open dialog, just like if you were in your operating system. There was no visual feedback, there was no video feedback. You were basically looking for files by file name only, and it was a very time-consuming process. So now what you can see is I can select my missing media down in my project panel, and I can choose link. And when I do that, it's going to open up this new link media panel, where now I have the option to match different file properties. Now, why this is so cool is that very commonly, and you can see that the original media was a series of red files, R3D. Well, if I had transcoded this media, converted it, say, from R3D to ProRes or Avid DNX HD or something like that, if I were to do a standard file link, it would be looking for things like file extension, which of course would change if I went from R3D to ProRes. So you can tell it now to ignore things that you don't need. You can also have it align things like timecode, relink multiple files automatically based on location, and this one here using the media browser to locate your files. So when I actually click on locate, what you now see is that it does just that. It actually opens up the media browser panel, which I'm just resizing here for you, where I can now scrub through all of my various media. I can resize my media clips, and this is the same media browser that we have in Premiere. So you can see up above that this is the file that I'm looking for. You'll notice that again, we can scrub through them, we can click inside them, we can actually play using standard JKL keys. I can review my content. I can also display only the exact files that it's looking for, click OK, it relinks the media, and just like that, everything is relinked visually very quickly based on the attributes that I set. So once again, a lot of user enhancements just to make the editing experience that much better. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of others here. Simple things perhaps, but things that we use every day. Something known as through edits. So if we take a look at this timeline, let me zoom in a bit here. As I play this back, if you look down below, you'll see that I have a series of cuts on these clips here. But in fact, these were cuts that we made in anticipation of editing or adjusting duration, but we didn't actually make any changes. This is known as a through edit. Well, when I'm finishing my timelines in Premiere, I don't like to have a lot of unnecessary cuts. And many editors will tell you, when you start to clean up your sequences, having unnecessary through edits can be visually confusing because you're wondering what was edited here. Well, now, if we look at our timeline display settings, you'll see that we have an option here to show through edits. And when I do that, you get these little bow tie icons that will actually show you clips that have been cut, but duration, in point, out point have not been changed. So when you want to actually clean up these edits, you can simply right-click on the through edit and choose to join them back together, and it rejoins those edits very quick. Yes. Yeah, that's right. The editors in the room love that. Okay? Now again, visual feedback for the things that you want to do. Let me just get back here for a second. So also in this menu, you'll see that we have a new option here to show duplicate frame markers. Okay? So also, as you'll see here, represented in pink and blue, if I have a series of clips where I have duplicate frames, very commonly you're dragging things in from your source monitor and you might duplicate a number of frames going from clip to clip. Well, now you have visual indicators to show you if you have duplicate frames, and if I slip and slide the media now, you can actually see as these blue lines change that it's showing you where the duplicates are occurring and how much of a duplication there is by frame. So again, lots of visual indicators to help you in the editing process. Now, taking that a step further, in CS6, we completely redesigned the interface, and that's what gave us all of this rich video, and it also allowed us to customize what you saw. Now, if you remember, in CS5, we had about 24 buttons present in your source and program monitors. And in CS6, we created the button editor, and the button editor allowed us to customize what you saw. Well, while we customized those dialogues, one area that we hadn't focused on were the video and audio track headers. And people said, wow, there's a lot of indicators here that I don't need. Things like toggle sync lock. I really don't use that very often. And there were lots of things that were missing. So once again, I'm going to go full screen on this just for a moment. And I'm going to go into my Customize Video header. And now you can see I have the ability to customize exactly which buttons and elements I display in the actual track headers themselves. So for instance, this toggle sync lock, I seldom use this. So why do I want it to take up space in my sequence, in my timeline? I don't. So I can simply drag it off. And these keyframing buttons here. Now, I don't typically keyframe down in my timeline like that. So again, if I don't want them, I can simply drag them off to really clean up the video track header. Also, if I go to Customize Audio Header, we have the same, or I should say a similar series of options, including the addition now of mute, solo, and record buttons right in the audio track header. Right? We didn't have these before. The ability to simply mute or solo an audio channel right inside the sequence. Now, if I don't need the record button, I'm not going to be recording from here. I can simply drag that out. We've also added audio track meters. So individual track meters for your audio tracks. I can drag this down here, click OK. And another new thing we've done is change the way you can resize the vertical height of your tracks. So you can see here I have a magic mouse, but any kind of mouse that uses gestures or a wheel mouse, if I simply wheel over this first track here, you'll see that now you can actually see my audio level meter down here, like this. If I hold down Shift and Option, or Shift and Alt, I can globally resize all of my tracks, video and audio, simultaneously. And the best of all of this is that all of these layouts and things can be saved as presets. And those presets, not surprisingly, can then be synced to the Creative Cloud. So just as Rufus was talking about with Photoshop and Illustrator and your brushes and other settings, well, your settings here in Premiere Pro, your workspaces are customizable, and they're also shareable within the Creative Cloud. So as you move from editing system to editing system, you can change the way that you work there too. Okay. Now, one last thing I'll show you in Premiere before we go over to After Effects is something that we've done to improve the multi-camera editing experience. So today you can see that we're capturing footage on a series of different cameras. Rufus has his GoPro. I have my Nikon D800. We have some photographers capturing here. And if I wanted to synchronize all of this video simply, we didn't really have an eloquent way to do this in the past. Now, we made improvements to our multi-camera workflow in CS6. Basically, we lifted the limit on the number of cameras you can use. So you can use any number of cameras to do a multi-camera edit in CS6. However, you didn't have an easy way to synchronize. And this is really the most difficult thing, especially for non-video editors, even for regular video editors. If you don't have time code, you'd have to set markers manually and then manually align and manually synchronize. And this is just a time-consuming process. It's something we're all very familiar with, but surely there was a better way. Well, we now have a new option which will do all of this automatically by audio waveform, and this is built in directly to Premiere Pro CC. So what you can see if we look down below is that I have a series of different clips, and if I look at them here, you can see we have some 1080p at 25. This was actually red footage that was transcoded to ProRes. I have some 320p. This is from an Android phone at 30 frames per second. I have some 720p. I think this might be from an iPhone or some other type of phone device, mobile device. And then we have, again, some DSLR 1080p, which was shot on a Canon 5D Mark III. So what I can now do is I can simply select all of my clips, all of which were, oh, and then there's also an audio file. This is the secondary audio that was captured, right? This is the proper mic'd audio, or it could be a lavalier capture for better audio rather than using the camera audio. Now I can select all of these, and I can choose Create Multi-Camera Source Sequence. Now this is the same function that you had before, but here's what's new. So let's call this Warsaw Multi. And you'll see that we have various synchronization options, but the new one here is audio, where it will actually compare the audio waveforms from multiple cameras. We're going to set all cameras to be synchronized. We can automatically have it choose a channel preset. Now, if you want it to conform to a particular frame size and frame rate, you'll see that we have a whole series of different presets that you can choose in all of the various flavors and frame sizes. By the way, you'll also notice that we have all of these new DNX, these Avid DNX presets. That's because Avid DNX HD is now a native format to Premiere Pro, Media Encoder, and Prelude. We actually ship with Avid DNX HD MXF. So this is, yes, this is the preferred Avid DNX flavor. This now comes with Premiere Pro. On the Mac side, we also ship with ProRes, encode and decode, import and export. So a lot of flexibility there. But in this case, I'll just choose all cameras, synchronize by audio, click OK, and it's already done. It's already analyzed and synchronized all of my content. Now, if I choose my new sequence here, and I open this in a timeline, now what you can see are all of my clips already synchronized. Now I can come in here and I can choose to scale these to the frame size of my sequence. By default, it will take the smallest frame size and conform all of the videos to fit into that particular frame size. Of course, if you choose a preset, you can rescale or do whatever it is that you like manually. And then I'm simply going to make a new sequence from clip. I happen to know that the audio, the proper audio, will be on this track 1, so we can solo this. And now, rather than going into a new window or a new panel, I can simply choose my multi-camera view button, which is found inside the Premiere Pro program monitor or source monitor. I can drag it in here, which is going to allow me to do my multi-camera cutting right inside my program monitor. I don't have to change my interface. I can start playback here, or you can see I'm scrubbing through.
This is an incredibly fun shoot because we're on the island of Kauai, first of all, but we're shooting all of the demo assets for Adobe. So that's both still and motion content, and it's challenging as a...
Okay, and using standard number keys or simply clicking on my videos, literally in one click, I was able to synchronize multiple camera sources, perform my multi-camera edit, and then, of course, all of the various editing functions inside Premiere are available to me. So if I wanted to switch a camera angle, for instance, I'm currently on camera 2, but I wanted to switch this to camera 1 without changing my duration, I can simply choose to modify the camera. It changes the camera for me, and I can keep on cutting. And I'm doing all of this inside the program monitor using our new audio sync function, which is very cool, very fast, and you no longer need a plug-in to do this. Pretty cool? Multicam auto sync? Yeah, okay. All right, so I've only got a couple more minutes here to show you a few things in After Effects, and when we come back later today, I'll show you even more. Some of you may be familiar with some of the new things that we've added to After Effects CC, but the most exciting, I think, is the addition of Maxon Cinema 4D Lite. And when you download After Effects CC on June 17th, it now comes bundled with Cinema 4D Lite. Cinema 4D is a 3D modeling application. You can build 3D models, you can import and download other 3D models. And in the example that I have here, what I wanted to do was add a 3D model of a grill guard to cover the grill on the front of this SUV, and I downloaded a model to do that. Now, before I start working with Cinema 4D and showing off this live 3D pipeline, or basically a type of dynamic link between the two applications, the first thing I need to do is set a series of tracking points. So I'm going to actually track the 3D camera motion on this clip. And when I do that, using our enhanced 3D tracker, you'll see that it creates a series of tracking points along the ground and on the various objects in the scene. Now, new in After Effects CC is that now I have the ability to select a series of tracking points, and right from within After Effects, I can do what's called setting a ground and origin plane. And this feature is necessary to allow the 3D application to understand where the ground is and where the objects are parented, or the perspective of the objects parented to the ground, to maintain the proper 3D perspective. So you now have the ability to set a ground plane. I can move forward in time, and I can select a series of points along the grill here. And now I can choose to track, create a solid. And you can see that now we have a perfectly tracked solid along the front of my SUV. From here, I can now export that tracking data directly to Cinema 4D. I can start building a new Cinema 4D project right from within After Effects. And when I do that, I can simply import my tracking data, which I already saved for you here. And right away, you can see that we have the ground plane and our tracked solid. So now what I'd like to do is merge the 3D object that I downloaded called Grill Guard to the actual solid that you see there. So I'm going to bring that in, and let me go ahead and reorient the coordinates to bring that 3D object a little bit closer to my solid, like this. I'm just going to zero out the coordinates. Okay? And in a couple of clicks now, you can see that we have the object parented. Now, at this point, in the past, we would have rendered this out. And this is a very render-intensive process. But now what I can do, when I go back to After Effects, effectively, we'd end up with something like this, right? And we'd say, OK, great, now we have our 3D object on our SUV. But it's a little crooked, right? Now, if we just rendered that out of the 3D app and took all this time to render, this was the frustration that 3D compositing and 2D compositors dealt with before. But now, as I mentioned, you have what's called a live 3D pipeline, a direct link between Maxon Cinema 4D and After Effects. And if you look down below, you can actually see that we have the Cinema 4D object living inside of the After Effects project panel. So I can select that. You'll also notice that we have the Maxon Cineware effect built right into After Effects CC. I can choose Edit Original. It takes me back into Cinema 4D, where you can see that in this project I've composited our two-dimensional video behind the object. And now I can make adjustments to the grill very fluidly in real time, like this. Okay, let's readjust it like that. Just readjust the axis here. Go ahead and save this. And now, without rendering, when I click back to After Effects, the change is applied, and we only have to render once at the very end of the process. Live 3D objects and layer access via Cineware between After Effects CC and Maxon Cinema 4D. Cool? Yeah? Okay. All right, so one last thing that I'll show you before we hand it off to Paul to close out this portion of the morning is something that many of you have probably heard about already, and that's some of the new features that we've done leveraging some familiar technologies. So in this particular example that we have here, what we have is this scene, and we didn't like the sky. We wanted to replace the sky here. It was a very dull, gray sort of day. And to do sky replacement, we use a function in After Effects known as rotoscoping. And for that, I would use my roto brush. And what I can do with the roto brush is I can come in on my video, and I can actually paint or trace along the edges of my tree line here, which is going to allow me to effectively separate the foreground from the background, okay? Because we want to replace that sky. So I'm going to come in here like this. This is very hard on this. Yeah, you see there's a reason I'm doing it like that. You'll see. And we're going to just add back in some of these pieces here down below. And I can also tell it, let's eliminate this stuff here so that it preserves the tree line a little bit better. Straight line will probably do that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Get rid of one more piece here. And when I go into my matte view, like this, that's a pretty good start. The problem is that this is a very hard matte, right? So if we want this to look realistic, if we want a composite of a nice sunny sky, moving sky behind this, we're going to have to spend a lot of time, just like we used to do in Photoshop, to preserve all of the little twigs and branches along the tree line. So instead, we thought, why not use a technology that we already had in Photoshop? And today, I'm proud to announce to you that with After Effects CC, we now have the Refine Edge tool. And the Refine Edge tool is a brush that, just like in Photoshop, allows me to come inside my After Effects video, once again, paint along the edges here, careful to include some of the background and some of the foreground so that it understands what to keep and what to remove, just like the Refine Edge brush in Photoshop CC. And when I do that now, and we go into our matte view, now you can see that we have this very detailed, beautiful looking matte. And again, here is the version of that. Let's go back and composite in my sky. And now you can see that we have our beautiful tree line preserved. And when I show you the finished version here, now you can see that the tree line with all of the branches and twigs are automatically propagated and calculated, giving you a very natural-looking composite, all done with the Refine Edge tool. Now, one more extension of that was something called the Refine Soft Matte. And in this example, what we did was we were trying to key this woman against a blue sky, which is a really common process. And I'm just going to come over here and go into my status view. And let me adjust some of my settings here. Now, the problem with keying against a blue sky, the good news is that we do this a lot because the colors present in a blue sky are not really present in the human body or in hair or in the eyes, but you end up with a very rough-looking matte. Well, now, if I choose Refine Soft Matte, click, drag, drop, and in one simple click, smooth, soft edges. Before, yes, and after. If I just go ahead and play a couple seconds of this, you can see that we have a very natural-looking key, a very natural-looking matte with a drag-and-drop version of that Refine Edge tooling. Cool? Yeah, all right. Okay, thank you. So now we're going to head over to Paul to show you some of the exciting new things that we've done in the web. All right, Paul.
Sounds great.
Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Very cool things going on. So yeah, if we could switch here. Obviously, you know, use the hashtag Creative Days. We're watching it. We're not watching Game of Thrones, as somebody commented, which I thought was hilarious. But we're keeping an eye on Twitter because we want to hear from you guys what you're interested in, all right? And what you like, to be honest with you. And hey, look at this. This is what we're going to look at right now. What is this? Code. Yes. Everybody with me. Yes. You guys are like, maybe like, right? That might be what you're thinking, and that's fine, because we're here to make your life easy as a web designer, developer, whatever the case may be. All right, guys? In fact, the day is full of choices for you. All right? Well, let's forget that. You know, quite frankly, what I need to do is take this design, and this is typically, you know, how I have worked for years. Starting in Photoshop, pixel perfect precision, being able to take this and bring it into an HTML page, at least take the styles, the CSS, all right? So I could jump in there, back into my code, and start writing up code, right? Like you'd expect. Not impressed, right? Yeah, you got code hinting. That's not going to help me because I don't really know where to begin. Well, what you can do, and I've shown this before, but I have to make you guys aware of this feature. Again, I'm selecting a folder, And here I have the ability to copy the CSS in Photoshop. Okay, take all that stuff. Copy CSS. I go to lunch. I take a long lunch, guys. I come back. Actually, it was a really short lunch because I just had to wait for that progress bar. But as far as my boss knows, it took me all afternoon to write all of this CSS. Okay, so as I click over to live view, you can see there's the design, right? Yeah, it's okay. That's kind of, I'm thinking, I'm taking the rest of the day off, right? Now, of course, this does that pixel-perfect precision. I'd want to go in there and maybe make it more responsive, tweak it, but this is at least a great place to start. Look, the names of my layers are now the names of those classes. I could easily change that, but you can see it's a great way to learn. Somebody might be asking about the images, and we're being really straightforward with you guys. I had that ping file already in that folder, okay, so I still have to export out those images. But that's what we're looking at. Whether you're using Photoshop, we're going to give you that ability, export CSS. You know, whether you're using Illustrator, whatever your tool of choice, we want to give you that capability to get your design in here. All right, so guys, you know what? I have a confession to make, because I'm actually in Dreamweaver CS6. Okay? And in previous versions of Dreamweaver, we've really loaded up the interface, right? We put buttons here, and you have buttons over here, and then down here, we can change the screen resolution. And after 16 years, we've loaded it full of features, and we realized we got to the point where we needed to simplify the interface. And that's what we've done with Dreamweaver CC. As I click over to Dreamweaver CC, you can see that it's cleaned up. We've modernized it. Basically, we've rewritten it. It's rewritten for high DPI displays. We didn't get rid of any functionality. We just put it in its proper place. Okay, and I can point out a ton of examples, but I want to show you something else. Because what would you do in Dreamweaver CS6? You're like, okay, I need to modify that design. Let's open up the CSS styles panel. Maybe I need to change this box. Well, I can go in there. I think it's this content area. And then you get some of those properties and then this mind-droning list. You guys, I don't know, do you find this helpful? Maybe you like working this way. That's fine. That's there for you. But I think there's an easier way. Like, what is this half of this stuff in here? You know, direction. The direction of what? Like, what do you mean, right? There has to be an easier way with this panel. So the CSS styles panel, if I go into Dreamweaver, again, I will select that particular box, okay, right there. I'd like to introduce you to the CSS designer panel, all right? Let's expand that out. Actually, let's leave it right there. But we have the CSS designer panel. Look, visually giving me those specific properties for that item that's selected. Oh, let's jump in there. We could change the color easily, even picking some of that, blue color if I want to. I have control over what's going on there. But let's take a look. Look, guys. It says computed. It's giving me all of the CSS properties that make up that one shape. I could care less where those classes are. Just give me all the computed properties, okay? So it's really cool being able to do that. I happen to know that this is the content area class, and as I take a look, I can add additional properties. Scrolling down, again, visually, guys, remember that mind-droning list is no longer there. I can jump in and add any one of these properties, thinking, okay, well, could we maybe round the corners? I don't know. Let's check it out as we change the border radius. You can see how we're rounding those corners, right? Let's make it a little different. I'm going to do like maybe, again, unlocking those, maybe making the opposing corners sharp, kind of like that, okay? Visually adding that specific property, guys. I have a ton of options in here, but that's CSS these days, guys. That's not Dreamweaver, that's CSS, because there's that many options available to you today. Keep in mind, I just set that property Well, I can view just this set properties. Bam, selecting that, and it just gives me the set properties for that CSS. Okay? Cool? You guys can see how this could be helpful to you, right? I hope. You guys tell me. Maybe it isn't. I like it better than the list that we had before. And I didn't even get into the half of it because I can start to add different sources. I can add media queries. Okay, so if I wanted to make a more responsive design, I can jump in here and add, say, some media queries very easily as well. All right? But it's cool what we could do, being able to style this content, creating that CSS. I'll switch over to this design. When it comes to fonts, again, we have plenty of options. So this is my design I'm working on. I'm selecting this text. Again, I get those properties for that item. I can change, say, the font family, okay? And we can go beyond system fonts, selecting manage fonts. And now I get Edge Web Fonts. Again, visually being able to even select the font that I want to add. So if I want maybe a slab serif, I can select Chunk or Arvo if I want to, and sorting through all of those as I go down. So it just added them to my project, all right? And now for this particular item called Gear Up, you'll see it right in here. So Arvo is what I added, Chunk is what I added. Now it's available in Dreamweaver. Again, as I select it, you'll see it load in right there, okay? Pretty easily done. I didn't have to worry about adding the JavaScript file, any of that stuff. You can see it right in my browser, all right? Let's go beyond that, because I'm going to go into this additional page, all right? And we've come a long way when it comes to the web, not only with visuals, CSS, but also with functionality. But really, what I want to do in this case is I want to go beyond a static image. And this is why I do web design, because it gives me this flexibility to add animation, to add interactivity. I can have all the fun I want. I don't like seeing necessarily a static image right here. So we could bring it to life. Do we have to bring it to life with code? No, we don't. I can use something called Edge Animate. Who's played with Edge Animate? I've shown it a couple months ago, but I want to go beyond what I've shown you a couple months ago and not leaving out the majority that haven't seen it. So let's just start with that. That's the image that I want to replace. I'm thinking, okay, let's make it look cool. And I want some animation, and I want each one of those, the trees, the foreground, to move separate from the background. So I'll launch Edge Animate, and I'll start working in, oh, look, let's check out the native type, HTML, all right? I can actually open up an HTML file in Edge Animate. From there, I can start to import images. You guys know how this works. Dropping in some images. These are just ping files that I'm importing. You can see the trees and all of these different elements, okay? So I can start to lay this out the way I want. All right? Say, okay, that looks pretty good. I can also start to add items in Edge Animate. But overall, you're probably going to be importing some graphics, all right? So I can use my text tool, as you can see right here, and start adding some text. I'm just going to, again, just turn that on just for the sake of time, because this afternoon I would love to dive into this deeper, all right? But I can add text. I can add, say, boxes and circles. And what happens if I drew out a box? Well, that's really just a div. That's all it is. It's a div that I didn't have to create in code. I just create it visually. But in this case, I can select all of these items that I've added right in here. And again, I didn't get to show this last time, but taking all of these elements and say I want them to move as one unit and really be independent, having its own independent timeline. Well, I can select all of those graphics, right-click, and just like in good old Flash, which we've redeveloped 64-bit, built from the ground up, dark gray, really slick, works fast, okay? And again, don't have time to show it, but convert all of those elements to a symbol, and I can call it my title. Now it's one unit, all right? And I can start to animate this as one unit. I can start to animate all of this stuff. And again, quickly, just doing that, if I wanted to, say, slide this in, it's a matter of, again, turning on this button right here, clicking there, and as soon as I move this title, it creates these keyframes down here. So I can say, hey, you know what? Start out, I don't know, off to the side, and maybe a little bit smaller. Let's scale it down smaller, okay? What am I doing when I do that, guys? Or what's happening behind the scenes? Okay, as I've scaled it up, scaled it down, it's adding that CSS you can see right there, that JavaScript and CSS that I didn't have to write. All right, so I can scale it down. It's going to start right there, scrubbing in 3 seconds or so. My timeline marker's there, and I can scrub up and make it larger like that, all right? So just made that larger, going small to larger, it brings up that animation, okay? And that's simply how we could create animation in Edge Animate, all right? I'm going to go beyond this. In fact, what I want to do is I want to show you something new that we've introduced. And in this case, I've built out some more of this animation, just so you guys know. I've created this nice animation of that content just sliding in. But let's take a look at this. Inside of this symbol that I've created, this is what I can do. Is I can take this particular object, okay, this butterfly, and I want it to fly across the screen, all right, from point A to point B. Well, what I can do in Edge Animate is change this from X and Y motion to motion paths. So selecting motion paths, now when I move it, it gives me that keyframe, but I can have it start right here, scrubbing in 3.5 seconds, moving it across the stage. Oh, what's this that I get? I get this line. Oh, look, I love seeing this symbol, right? The pen tool. Oh, look, let's manipulate that line, all right? Manipulating that line, and now that, again, it's going to move kind of funny, but you could see it actually moving across just like that, following that motion path, all right? So that's just a simple example. Let me actually show up a version that's a little bit more developed that I've done a better job with, but you can see that this one follows that path. All right, let's increase the size, too, so you can see it. But right in here, you can see it. It's following that particular path, all right? Well, there's more that I can do in here as well. As I select this butterfly, I can add more to it. In this case, as I expand this out a little bit, I could add interactivity. And again, I'll get into this more this afternoon, but I can say, hey, you know what? When you touch that mouse, play that timeline. Have him follow that path when you touch him. Hey, you know what? Inside of that butterfly symbol, his wings are flapping. So play that wing animation. That's what's going on inside as I double-click on him. The wings are flapping. Just a simple skew, guys. That's all it is, all right? And from there, in fact, let's just jump out to the final version since I kind of running out of time. Let's just play this. The nice smooth animation. You can see everything slide in. Again, on mouse enter, as soon as I touch him, he flies away. All based on that motion path. I just manipulated a line, and it follows that motion. I don't even know how to do that in JavaScript. I don't know how long it would take me, nor do I care at this point, because I just created a line. Very nice and elegant, touching him again. Of course, the only thing disconcerting is the size of that butterfly compared to the guy's head. He should have a freaked out look on his face. Like, that's a huge butterfly, right? Let's add some more interactivity, because as I click on that text, it plays the timeline a little more and shows additional content. What did I do in here? I have some simple animations, but really if I try to catch a butterfly this time, I'm thinking I want him to move randomly around the screen, right? How would I do that in the timeline? You do that using JavaScript. So you can add your own custom JavaScript in Edge Animate as well. As I try to touch any one of these guys, they start to fly away. Off they go. Again, that one. So come here, little randomly moving, and I can show you that code. And lastly, I can click on the Warsaw icon. Again, another example of loading up more JavaScript. I'm pulling in a Twitter feed, just adding JavaScript. Really, the sky is the limit when it comes to that case there. All done in Edge Animate. Cool? Is that pretty cool? Let me show you some of the code. You guys don't believe me about some of this, maybe. Let's jump in here. Again, taking any one of these butterflies, and you can see that random movement, okay? So hey, pick a random number between 0 and 600, between 450, 0 and 450, and then apply it to that butterfly animation, okay? Almost every second, move it in a different spot, and then there's some random movement there. So that's all I have for you. I have so much more to show this afternoon. That's why I'm glad we have a full day ahead of us. Hopefully everyone's able to stick around, and we have some sessions this afternoon that we're really excited about. You know, reflow, some more Photoshop, Illustrator, right, and video products. So definitely. Yep. Thank you so much.